Hi, this is Ty Bordoni, full-time professional mediator, as well as a primary mediation trainer out of Central Florida, Orlando specifically. And today I thought I would talk to you about two things specifically. The first being the issue of full settlement authority, right? When people mediate, they're supposed to have full settlement authority. They're supposed to be able to settle a case without conferring with anyone, right? They're supposed to have everything they need when they come to mediation to be able to speak with the other party, try and find common ground to negotiate. And if everyone comes to a place where they can agree on a resolution, they're supposed to be able to do so without further consultation. But the fact of the matter is that that doesn't always happen sometimes, right? There can be any one of a number of instances, any one of a number of different kinds of cases in which someone is representing another entity. For instance, that in this one instance, let's go with that, but there could be other instances. But something like someone who is trying to collect on a debt, or an insurance representative, something of this nature, right? Something, some kind of case in which the parties have to come to agreement. And the parties do come to agreement, and this was a recent case of mine. The parties came to agreement, and they were very, very close on the amount. And the party who was representing an insurance carrier indicated that while they were pretty sure that it was going to be fine, they had didn't have any more authority, and they had given everything that they were okayed to give, and they just for the little bit that was needed, they needed to make a call. So now this was done during mediation, and it was in caucus, and so immediately, of course, I recognize, well, technically that violates the rule that parties are supposed to have full settlement authority. But there's also custom, and there's practicality, and there's the way things take place in mediation sometimes, right? Debt collection cases are like that as well. And so I totally, I understood, and I let the individual know, okay, I understand. I will wait appropriately. They went to, I went to, I left the room, the electronic room, and waited for them to ask me to come back. And at that point, they let me know that, wow, they couldn't get in contact with the individual. And so they thought, well, let me let me talk to the other side, and if they agree, or you can talk to them, and if they agree within 24 to 48 hours, we can then take care of everything, so long as I thought, they will give, they'll agree on the rest. And so I went ahead and I got the other parties, and I got everybody together. Now, the entire time I am familiar. I understand that technically one of these parties didn't have full settlement authority. But here's the question. Does it fall to the mediator to recognize it, and when it gets recognized, to then say, "Oh, I'm sorry, but you're supposed to have full settlement authority"? So that's the question that I'm posing to everyone. There are some of you out there who are some mediators who are more letter of the law, by the book kind of mediators, and who would say, well, that's what the rules say, and so that's what we need to do. That would not be me, right? And I do not believe that it would be the proper way to do it. I think that mediators have to be flexible. The process has to be flexible, and the mediator should not insert themselves, because it's not my place to bring up an issue. There are some instances, there are some black and whites, but for the most part, there's no black and white mediation. We are always in the gray, right? In that moment, we have to make that decision. And I would tell you that I understood that when we got back together, the one representative was going to tell the other representative, exactly like that. Hey, listen, I kind of reached my limit, but I put in a call, and I should hear back within. At that moment in my head, I understood innately that he's going to say that, or she's going to say that. And the other party, he or she, is then in that moment, they're either going to say, sure, great, thanks, or they might say, wait a second, you're supposed to have full settlement authority. So I was fully prepared to make have the discussion if the other party would have said, hey, you're supposed to have full settlement authority. It does come up from time to time, right? And if had it been brought up, absolutely would have been an example of full settlement authority. But instead, when it came up, what happened? The parties talked, everybody was quite happy, and they said, yeah, sure, great. I look forward to hearing back from you. And then we'll move forward. And if the answer is no, we'll still have an agreement on this amount. But if the answer is yes, great, then we'll move forward on that amount. And so, practically speaking, the mediator should be aware. The mediator should catch it. But does the mediator bring it up? By the same token, I would say it's case by case. There could be an instance when it might be appropriate, but not this one. It was more appropriate for the parties to bring it up. And if they don't bring it up, then I'm not going to worry about it either, right? Had I done it, then it's possible that one of the parties might have been precluded from getting more of an agreement that they would have preferred. Had I stepped in, right? Had I been by the book, but rather because I understood we should probably be flexible in this case because this is more customary than not, because the parties agreed to do it. Now, the parties could potentially have the best agreement that everybody is willing to come to. Is that not the best way to look at it? Is it not the parties who should make that determination rather than the mediator in this case? Absolutely. If that's the standard of practice in the industry, absolutely, right? Now, you as the mediator has to make that determination in that moment. But I would tell you that it was quite appropriate for me to do so. Now, that brings up a second issue, and that is, okay, are we not supposed to report to whatever entity we are supposed to report at the end of mediation, right? But in this case, there was a verbal agreement. So then should I have reported that it was an impasse? Because mediation technically ended with nothing written and or agreed to between the parties, right? Or because there was a verbal agreement, right, for the parties to do X, Y, and Z, and then they would send the appropriate written agreement to each other. Because we had a verbal agreement, does that not give the mediator the leeway to give the parties some time with which to complete that agreement, have a full written agreement, right? And then the mediator can do their mediator report, right? I would tell you, yes, that would be the case. That would be the way to do it. So first, the question would be, are there any rules that would tell me that I can't do that? Are there any administrative rules or any court rules, right, that would say, nope, if there's no agreement, then this is what you shall do? Florida rules of civil procedure say you have 10 days from the time an agreement is come to and the parties, everything is written and the parties have signed. So that didn't happen, right? This was a private mediation through an agency, right? The agency didn't have any rules in that regard. So then what rules could I look to? The rules of civil procedure would be a good place, and or the rules, Florida rules that mediators have to abide by, and or a MEAC opinion. Now, it just so happens that there's a MEAC opinion that is right on point in this regard, right? And so you look to the best place that will help the parties and or that is controlling. And in this case, that MEAC opinion says if there's a verbal agreement and the parties have indicated that they are going to, and I'm paraphrasing, that they're going to move forward appropriately, and so long as no one either says we're at an impasse or no one tells the other parties, you know what, we're removing ourselves from the negotiations, and or lets the other party know that they do not have agreement. So long as the parties are agreement, that there is a verbal agreement, the mediator can give them appropriate leeway. And so some cases need a little bit of leeway. They need some flexibility. And so where we left it was within 24 to 48 hours, the parties would let me know the outcome, and I would then appropriate, because there was a verbal agreement. Until such time as I'm told, no, you know what, we don't have an agreement, or that time frame where it elapsed that everybody agreed to, I'm going to give them the flexibility they need, right? And the mediator has to make a determination. Should I do this? Can I do this? Will I do this in that moment, right? So it's very tough to say about a case, this is what you should do. No, when you're in that case, the mediator, the trained, the experienced mediator, has to make a determination in that moment. Mediation is an art form. It's not a science, right? So I hope you've taken something away from that. Be flexible, be practical, and do what's in the best interest of the parties while following appropriate rules, of course, as well, right? So I hope that helped. Please feel free to like and share this if you found something, if you took something from it. And the best way for us to continue to improve and to become better mediators is what? By mediating. So go out there, keep making a difference in your community and in the world. And please also subscribe to the subscribe to the subscribe if you liked it. Okay, sometimes we have brain freeze, don't we? Okay, thank you. Best of luck. Keep mediating.